Hi Photos subscribers. I am excited to talk to you today about backgrounds. Backgrounds don't have to be a solid color. They don't have to be fabric. They don't have to be all wrinkled. The backgrounds we're talking about today are stylized. Something that creates visual interest but doesn't draw your attention away from your subject or your object. There are two photographs I have in mind that I shot, which are specific to product, and the purpose of these was to showcase the product. So this is going to give you an idea of what I'm talking about with a stylized background. It may add detail and meaning to the product. Now I'm specifically talking about product shots, but stylized backgrounds can be used for portraiture, for stock photography, for product photography. The important thing is you don't want to overcrowd your object or your subject, creating a question in your viewer's mind of what's really being shown here. Too many objects in your photograph is going to take away from the focusing of the subject to what you want people to see. I have used all sorts of leading lines in this video here with this background, and yes, even wrinkles. And this one right back here, even though it's not much of a leading line, this one right back here, which leads you down this eye. So all of this kind of at least shows you to me, if not pointing you to my eyes, for that very reason. I want to be the focus of your attention in this movie. Perhaps I'm not animated enough and there's not enough visual interest with other things being added. That's my fault. I haven't planned these videos out as thoroughly as I'd like to, but stylizing your background can be as simple as adding a reflective surface. One of the pictures I'm going to go find in a moment and show you in a quote visual interrupt is using a reflective surface. And the reflective surface is specifically drawing your attention back up toward the product. But it creates all sorts of leading lines and visual interest because of the nature of how it was stylized. But I also shot with the artificial light I was shooting, because I was shooting in a professional studio setting. We didn't want light coming in that we couldn't control easily, so any windows that were in that studio were shaded, or the light was blocked. Sometimes I would set up huge sheets of what we called foam core. If you're not familiar with what foam core is, you can go online and search it, or go to your local all-in-one store, whether that's Walmart or Piggly Wiggly. Yes, there are still some around. That you can find what they call foam core, but basically it's like artboard, you know, that centerpiece of foam with paper glued to either side. Now there are some photo printing laboratories and companies that will print your photograph on what they call gator board, which is like 3/8 inch or 5/8 inch thick with paper glued to either side, and they'll print your photograph on the other side. So it's almost like an art gallery style quality that the hooks and things be pushed into the back and hung. But the background that you need is important, that whatever is not styling your object is either not visible or not even in the frame of your image. So if it's not visible but it's still there because you might need it to support whatever your styling is or anything else, I used foam core to go in front of that object. So then this side would be black, and the light would either be diffused or soaked in to the black object, whether it's foam core or felt. Black felt is fantastic for just completely absorbing light, as long as it's not too frizzy. If it's fairly flat and laid down, it's not going to reflect a whole lot of light. especially if it's not directly in light. So if it's on the outside edges of your artificial light spray, then that felt is going to create a density in that darkness to be able to appear almost to go black, completely black. Or that foam core covering over that object would completely, especially if it was like a nickel or something very shiny plated, then it was going to create this odd look or line that I didn't want in my photograph. The other interesting thing is sometimes you can even leave that object covered, but you can mask it so that it goes shadowed. You see how my index finger is shadowed? Excuse me. My index finger is shadowed, but these three fingers are still lit. So you can create shadow on an object that essentially, if it doesn't have any light on it and there's no light spray or reflected light somewhere else bouncing back into your object, even a shiny object like a nickel plated object, whether it's C-stand arm or tripod or something else, then as long as nothing is reflecting it or reflecting light into it, either way, then it's usually going to be dark enough that you're not going to see it. But that's one of the reasons why I always did test shots before I sent my final image into a client or to be approved in whatever I was doing, is to make sure that everything I was carding or putting in shadows was not appearing. And whatever did appear because of reflected light or reflection in other ways did exactly show what I wanted it to show. When you're using reflective objects, I used a mirror in one of these photographs that I would like to find and show you. I needed to be very careful in what I reflected because the reflection itself was the whole key to the photograph. So because of that, I had to make sure that whatever the mirror reflected or the reflecting surface was reflecting was exactly what I wanted to portray. So backgrounds don't have to be fabric, they don't have to be sweeps, they don't have to be anything else, but the purpose of the background is to fill out the entire rest of your image space, whether that is the camera frame space or if it's just exactly what you crop into. You want to make sure that you have enough dead space around your subject to crop in, but you also don't want so much dead space that your subject is dwarfed by it all. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, click like, and comment down below. Thank you so much.